Hi, I'm your host, Prateek Panda, and you're listening to Impulse, the influencer marketing podcast by Phyllo. Here, we talk to the best and brightest in influencer marketing to help answer all your questions, from finding the right influencers to making sure you have the best influencer marketing strategy. So let's get started. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Impulse, the influencer marketing podcast. Joining me today is Liang Chiu, an influencer marketing and brand partnerships professional with over 2 decades of experience. Liang is currently the director of influencer marketing and brand partnerships for Brand Social Watch, and he's here to share a bunch of his learnings around influencer marketing. And it's going to be a very exciting episode, so hang around with us. Thanks a lot, Liang, for joining us.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for inviting.
All right, so I'm going to start off with my typical first question for all of my guests, right? I want to hear from you, what is one hot controversial take that you have about influencer marketing? Something that you believe in, but maybe not everybody agrees.
Sure. So, in terms of influencer marketing, it's also hard for people to understand is that people or brands often think doing influencer marketing is great and it's wonderful, but when it comes to implementing, they get scared and then don't know where to begin. And so that makes them to go back and forth in terms of if they should do it or not, and so that also makes it difficult for someone like me. And in that type of situation, I basically had to do a lot more educational forms for them to understand how everything works and how we can make things easy and painless in that way.
Okay, that's interesting. So there are two things that I want to dive deeper over there, right? You said that a lot of times brands would like the idea of influencer marketing, but don't really know where to start. So
hmm
according to you, where should they start? If they've figured that, hey, influencer marketing sounds like an exciting thing, everybody's talking about it, looks like we should do it. So where do we
Right.
start?
Yeah. One thing that they should start is to identify their product, what type of target audience they're trying to reach, and then what type of budget they want to allocate for the influencer program. And of course, there's a perception that influencers typically collaborate on a pay per post capacity. So that scares people off because if that's the case, the influencer campaign the cost can go sky high, and so we don't know what the outcome may be. So in terms of influencer marketing, there's ways to work with influencers, maybe on a commission or revenue share type of model, or flat fee plus commissions. And there's even lots of platforms out there that allows the brands or companies to work with influencers in all these types of different ways. So it's basically up to the brand to understand how they want to proceed, and then I can help them navigate through all these different sort of choices.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit more about this, right? Like last week, I was talking to another one of our guests, and we were talking more about how influencer marketing is slowly now moving towards more around performance measurement and ROI
Yes.
as well. It's not just about branding anymore, right?
Right.
So do you see that, like, the reason I'm asking you this is because you mentioned about reaching out to influencers and not necessarily just working on a per post model, but
hmm
also talking to them about a revenue share model, or
Right.
things like that. Do you think there are
Yes.
enough creators or influencers who are ready for that kind of model?
Well, so you're right. So a lot of the brands want to see the performance from the influencers, and so there's still some uphill sort of challenges to get a lot of the influencers agree to collaborate on a performance based or revenue share type of model. But things are slowly getting better in terms of there are influencers out there that's willing to experiment and see if the brands would offer them a small flat fee. And then there's that component of revenue share. And then, of course, there are also platforms out there that helps brands working with influencers based solely on the revenue share model. I know a lot of the digital advertising governing sort of body have been discussing this type of topic last couple years. So there's really been a push to get influencers to work on a performance-based capacity. So I think within the next maybe year or two, there'll be even more influencers that's willing to accept this particular format of partnership.
Got it. That sounds promising. Tell us a little bit more about CTI International and your role there.
So CTI International or Brand Social Watch is founded by a former executive of Berkshire Hathaway that operated managed their Asia operations. And so when he came back stateside, he already have a lot of connections with celebrities as well as media moguls and CEOs and whatnot. So then he founded Brand Social Watch to help brands leverage celebrities to be their brand ambassadors and then offering the influencer marketing services. So it's been operating for more than 15 years. And so I was brought in since I actually met the CEO and founder in 2010. We established a pretty good friendship over the years. And so in 2016, when I joined a fashion e-commerce company similar to like a Fashion Nova, and leveraged Brand Social Watch to help find influencers that would willing to work with us on a revenue share type of model. The CEO was great in helping us find celebrities and even up and coming celebrities to promote our brand. And I saw the immediate success after the influencers were ramping up. So that was my sort of entry into Brand Social Watch after being at a fashion e-commerce company prior.
Got it. And part of your role is also to identify and recruit new influencers
Uh-huh.
into CTI, right? So that you could partner with them and work with brands. Tell me a
Yes.
little bit about how you go ahead and identify who the right influencer should be that Brand Social Watch should work with.
Yeah. So finding influencers, it's just like finding a candidate for a job. So first, I would scour through the Instagram or YouTube or TikTok, whichever format that or actually the platform these influencers are on, and I would look at their sort of insights and analytics to see how are their engagements, their reach, and their authenticity, and do a lot of vetting to see if their followers are real or not, and then reach out to some of the brands that they worked with in the past, and see basically like getting some of the reference checks to see how they work and whatnot. So this is basically the process I would go through to find influencers for us to work with.
Awesome. And is this fairly manual, the whole research part, or do you have some tools to help make it
Oh,
easier for you?
so in the past it's very manual, but nowadays there's tons of influencer discovery platforms. So that actually saved me a lot of time and make it more effective in terms of checking out and vetting tens and hundreds of influencers a day.
Got it. And how do you evaluate the credibility and authenticity of an influencer? You talked about the authenticity part,
Mhm.
where you spend some time to evaluate the authenticity and the credibility of the influencer. Are there tools that help you do that also, or do you have to?
So yeah, the tools like Aspire IQ or Creator IQ, those type of platforms will help go through all those checks for you or someone like myself recruiting influencers.
Got it. And they talk about the credibility, authenticity score, some sort of thing like
Right.
that.
Yeah. So
Got it.
there's some sort of like analytics of their contents that they will analyze and then show. Okay, if this is a scale 1 to 10, is it very authentic or not so authentic, and that sort of thing.
Awesome. All right. I'm going to make a small plug about Phyllo as well and ask you to probably check us out as well. And, Phyllo is also a platform that enables you to do that across a wide set of
Sure.
creators around the world. And one of the key things we want to focus on is actually not just authenticity and credibility, but also safety. A lot
Hmm.
of brands and agencies that we work with also come to us to ask that, hey, the brands that I want to work with are very particular about knowing whether a creator or an influencer has posted about certain topics in the past that we don't want to work with, right? So it
Yeah.
could be a lot of safety elements. It could be about nudity. It could be about violence. It could be a variety of different topics, right? And that's hard manual work to do, to
Sure.
first identify the right influencers who have all the metrics that you want, and then go back. How long do you go back, right? Do you see posts
Hmm.
from the last 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, 10 years, right? So we help brands do that as well. So just a gentle plug there. But let's go back to influencers, right? Our influencer recruitment. What has been one of the most challenging things for you as far as influencer recruitment is concerned? And can you share some anecdotes around how you do this job really well?
Recruiting influencers, the recruiting part is not too hard. It's the part that's challenging is always helping the influencers matching with the brand. Sometimes the brand have a specific budget in mind in terms of pay per post or how much they want to spend per influencer, and sometimes the influencer are the ones that are flexible is great to work with, and the ones that are very firm on their rate, those are the ones that can be challenging. So it's always a balancing act how you can make the influencers happy and make the brand side happy as well.
Okay, awesome. Let's talk about China, right? So China has the influencer marketing market in China is pretty
Yeah.
big. It's far
Yes.
ahead as far as if you compare it with
Right.
North America. And I think a large part of that is also because e-commerce is a large percentage of retail shopping in China compared to the
Hmm.
US, where US, Canada, both. I think the e-commerce percentage is still pretty small as far as the total retail sales is concerned. What are some observations that you have made with respect to influencer marketing in China that you think could also be some good learning for folks who are starting into influencer marketing in North America?
Yeah, so in terms of e-commerce or influencers in China, is that China with influencer marketing is mostly doing the live stream selling. So it's almost like influencer guided sales, and that has been working very well for the China market. And so I have seen some of the companies here in the U.S. is starting to emulate that. And so with the live stream selling that's starting to be doing here in the U.S. is still a bit of a uphill sort of challenge because a lot of the influencers here in the US or in the West are not accustomed to long hours of live stream in front of the camera. Maybe 10-15 minutes is the max. So the sort of live stream, a lot of influencers in the West are only accustomed to the short form video live streaming on TikTok. And of course in China they are not using the all the different platforms that the West is using, like Instagram, YouTube, and whatnot. So that makes it very interesting and different when trying to promote to consumers in China. You basically have to use their own very uh, uh, geo-focused platform in China, maybe like WeChat or Weibo, to reach out to consumers and influencers through those platforms.
Yeah, I also you talked a little bit about the whole live selling thing, or
Yeah.
that concept, which is very popular in China. I read a statistic from 2021, and there's the Singles Day shopping that
Yes.
happens, right? So
Hmm.
for all of our listeners who don't know what Singles Day is, Liang, can you tell how big Singles Day is?
Yeah. Single Day is like the Black Friday of China. And that's like the single day where everything's on sale through all the e-commerce sites like Alibaba.
Yeah, and I read a statistic about Singles Day from October 2021, where two influencers, Lee Jiaki and Via, together on a live selling platform sold $3 billion worth of products on a
Like,
single day by two
yeah,
influencers, right? Which is
yeah,
amazing. That is mind blowing.
right.
Do you think that can ever happen in North America?
I think it'll take some time because it's all up to the influencers here to adapt and also to embrace live selling. So right now the influencers I've seen that's starting to embrace that is like the on the platform like LTK or Like to Know It, and of course Amazon has their own live stream influencers as well. And so I think these are two big players that's really embracing that, and hopefully they'll make that more common and for more influencers in the West to adopt this.
Awesome. Can you tell a little bit more about a recent influencer marketing campaign that you or your team helped execute that was very successful, and maybe it was something different and could be a good, idea or a good learning exercise for our listeners?
Last 3 years, with the live stream selling being so popular in Asia, some of the brands I've been working with also have been looking to do that. So I was fortunate that able to find another third party vendor that I partner with to help some of these brands launch their own live stream selling for their products, and it actually worked out pretty well. And when the live stream take place, the vendor would simulcast the session on all the different social media platforms as well. So a lot of the brands were able to sell their products and get at least like 3 or 4 times ROI.
Awesome. That's great. And talking about ROI, right? And is that typically the metric that you want to go for as well when you're talking about success, or do you still
So
also rely on other metrics?
Oh, that's one of the metrics. So ROI, a lot of the e-commerce companies are looking at ROI in terms of how much they're able to generate from the influencer campaign. Of course, we also want to see the reach that the influencers can get from the campaign as well, and the engagement. So all these are all important.
Awesome. Tell me a little bit more about any other emerging trends that you see in influencer marketing. We talked a little bit about live sales and what's happening
Yes.
in China.
So of
What other
course,
trends do you see?
yeah, the other trend is that influencer marketing merging with AI. So there are definitely platforms and companies out there that leverage AI to help identify what are some of the popular products or trends that the customers or the consumers are looking for. And also with the influencer campaign that has launched before, what are some of the things that the customer had purchased, and then using AI to determine what are some of the relevant products or recommendations to the customers so that they are more keen to make their purchase.
Okay, awesome. And moving a little bit from AI, Apple just recently announced their Vision Pro VR
Yes.
AR headset, right? So, and since that just got dropped yesterday, do you think any of that is going to make an appearance into influencer marketing as well?
Oh, I'm sure. Influencer marketing is always evolving. So I'm sure someone or some other company or startup will implement influencer with AI, so to make it more even interactive. And anything that has video or that has interactive component are always the key to make the influencer campaign successful.
All right, awesome. One fun question for you. If you were to take out some influencer for lunch, who would that person be and why?
So I would say Charlie DeMello would be one, because she has been pretty good in terms of growing her follower base, and also her and her family are all influencers, and they launched their own, I guess, the very first influencer VC fund. So that's quite a journey.
So, talking about influencer VC funds, right? I've seen that a lot of companies also who are in the creator economy space have created some sort of small creator funds. How important do you think that this is for the whole ecosystem to grow? It seems like an obvious thing, but do you see money actually get into the hands of creators, or is this more of a branding exercise for?
I think that will allow the creators to thrive in a growing space, and then of course for the creator economy to even grow even more. And so that's a huge sort of uncharted sort of territory for more growth.
Got it. So, Liang, any last comments or advice for anyone who's new to influencer marketing as a brand or as a marketer, and is just getting started with influencer marketing? What are some tips
Uh,
and advice you'd want to give?
Sure, sure. Well, there's definitely a lot of good blogs and information online to learn about influencer marketing. And so there's the Influencer Marketing Hub website, and Social Media Examiner. These are sort of good sources to start with. And then there's definitely a lot of influencer marketing sort of conferences and trade show throughout the year. So all those are good sources to start and to get familiarized how to navigate through the complicated sort of area of influencer marketing to make it
All
simplified.
right. Awesome, Liang. Thanks a lot. That was very helpful. Anything else that you would want us to share with our listeners? Otherwise, I had a great time chatting with you.
I think I am good. I'm also
All right,
enjoyed our conversation today.
awesome. It was great, Liang. Thank you so much for taking out time. It was great chatting with you, and there's lots of nuggets of information in our conversation that I'm sure a lot of our audience will find helpful.
All right, thank you.
Impulse, the influencer marketing podcast, is brought to you by Phyllo. Phyllo is the easiest way to get access to authenticated creator data from hundreds of different platforms. To know more about Phyllo, visit getphyllo.com. That's getphyllo.com. Also, make sure to search for Influencer Marketing Podcast in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or any of your favorite podcast listening platforms. And don't forget to click subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes. On behalf of the team here at Phyllo, thank you so much for listening.